Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Maureen Palmersheim, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about climate change from a literary perspective. So I'm going to talk about James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake. So I guess I'll just get started. So I've been hearing a lot lately about the feminist climate revolution that went on in Scotland, and basically how all the issues are kind of interconnected and tied into each other. So in Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, he talks a lot about the forests of Ireland and how the treeless hills and sort of the deforestation represents also the other problems, that impact the society, the domination of the Irish to English rule, worry about crops and fertility of the land, and just like the domination of the natural resources. So he has a lot of things where he talks about the future, such as Sean envisions an ever-greening world. So there's a lot of hope in Finnegan's Wake that, some even suggest that it's kind of foretelling of a new Earth, or a new way of things in the future. I was reading this article called it's called Six Joyce's Treeless Hills, Deforestation and Its Cultural Resonances by Catherine O'Callaghan. And she writes, I think that's just one of the chapters for her book. But anyway, it's like suggested that Joyce, oh my gosh, I can't put it in the right words. Let me find the spectral returns of the giant oak throughout Joyce's canon cultivate in a suspected reforested Ireland of the future. I think that's really cool because he was like kind of a prophet as well as a writer and a genius. And so it says, precisely because his trope taps into the chain of historical events well rehearsed by national rhetoric, the arrival of the English in Ireland, colonial exploitation of people and resources, fears concerning fertility and famine, the loss of an indigenous culture, it allies itself well with the Joycean technique of repeated motifs with the multiple textual resonances, reverberates with the trope of the felling of the Irish forests. So in one part here it says that Joyce may have predicted like the end of patriarchy, which I don't know, that's just an interpretation, but it's interesting anyway how I don't know, I think that if men and women were more equally represented, I think it would have positive benefits on the land. And well, I'll go into a little bit about what I've been writing. And that's again about the Irish myth Macha'S curse on the Ulstermen. And I've done a lot, I've thought about this story a lot, obviously, studying it a long time ago in university, and I don't know, it just always lingered in my mind. And I'll just repeat the story real quick for those who haven't seen my other videos, but Macha, basically, she's kind of like this fairy woman who had really amazing gifts. She could run faster than horses, so she could outrun the horses. And she just sort of showed up out of the forest one day and started living with this guy named Kronku. And he promised to keep her secret because obviously she didn't want everyone knowing about her, because then she'd be exploited. But that's what ended up happening, and I think her guy was bragging to the guys at the court and talking about her, that she could run faster than the horses. So they chained him up and went and got her and made her run the horse, outrace the horses, which she did. And it was misfortunate for her because she was pregnant with twins, and she won the race, but she had a miscarriage at the end. So no, excuse me, she didn't have a miscarriage. She birthed the twins, but she died in childbirth. So supposedly she let out a curse for all the Ulstermen and for their generations of men to be inflicted with labor pains during battle. So they would know how it feels like. And yeah, that's how the story goes. My interpretation of that story is goes a little deeper, and I think of Macha as like the long-suffering mother, kind of like Mother Earth, who is always regenerating, always like kind and generous, but like in a radical act of self-love, she'll teach lessons, to those who need it. And so, in my view, the curse of the Ulsterman is kind of like how man treats the planet, how people, not just men or anything, but men and women, how they treat the planet. And I don't know, I just think the earth teaches us lessons by maintaining its balance, whether that means giving us plagues or disease. And it's not just like polluting or anything, but the way we are, the way we tend to be unconscious about things. And I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, in my story, Lane, the main character, remembers her dad, the summer he came and planted trees in their house, and he's a truck driver, so he was just, cooped up in the driving truck most of the time. But one summer he goes to they have an acre in Darby, Montana, and he plants a bunch of trees and lilac bushes, and Lane is kind of like a teenager or adolescent, and she's not keen to want to help him. But he kind of goes in the house and she's watching Gone with the Wind. And that's kind of like a movie that they always watch together about, the South, the Civil War, the plantations, and Scarlett O'Hara is like this prissy kind of, popular Southern girl that doesn't have to work hard and has everything handed to her. But when the Civil War comes, she goes through a lot of shit, and her hands ain't smooth no more. So, she's, rifling through the dirt at the end, at Tara, their plantation, which is kind of cool because that's named after, the ancient trading hub in Ireland is also called Tara. But, yeah, she's like, she has her hands in the dirt at the end, and she's like, there's nothing more important than land. Which before she just took for granted, because there was no strife, and you guys know, you've seen it probably. But yeah, definitely feels like a new earth is coming about from the ruins of the old in that movie, and maybe today too in our reality. So anyway, I was thinking, Lane goes back to her memory of her dad planting trees, and he pulls her from watching Gone with the Wind and takes her outside to actually plant these trees and build the irrigation ditches and maintain the watering. And in that way, he's sort of instilling in her a legacy, maybe without even realizing it, but sort of, the beginning sprouts of who she's to become. Which is like, I guess, an ambassador of the land, preserves, hopes to preserve the integrity of the natural world. So, I don't know if that came across right, but, thank you guys. I hope you got something from that, and, I'll be back with another video next Wednesday. Until then, ciao!